Good morning and welcome to News on the Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. In the next 1 hour, we track news and developments from India and across the world. Let's begin with the top stories. Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to start off iconic week today as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. It aims to showcase journey of New India and celebrate contribution of freedom fighters, including the unsung heroes of freedom struggle, through massive outreach activities. India continues to airlift Indian nationals from crisis-ridden Afghanistan. Second batch of 146 Indian nationals who were evacuated from Afghanistan to Doha repatriated. Last rites of veteran leader and former Chief Minister Shaili Singh to be performed on the banks of Ganga in Narora. Today, public holiday to be observed in Uttar Pradesh. The country's war against COVID-19 continues. Cumulative COVID-19 vaccination crosses 58 crore landmark. Tamil Nadu extends COVID-19 curbs till September 9. Goa extends COVID-induced curfew till 30th August. United States orders civilian jets to join evacuation from Afghanistan. President Biden says maintaining constant vigilance to monitor and disrupt threats from any source, including ISIS and the Afghan affiliate ISIS-K. And in sports, silver medal for India in World Athletics Under-20 Championship. Shaili Singh wins silver medal in long jump. It's the third medal for India in this edition. And the nation is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to celebrate and commemorate 75 years of India's independence. In this regard, Union Ministry of Information and Broadcasting will launch a gamut of activities to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav from Monday. The objective is to showcase the journey of New India and celebrate the contributions of freedom fighters, including the unsung heroes of freedom struggle, through massive outreach activities.
Under its iconic week celebrations, the Information and Broadcasting Ministry will showcase the convergence of the values and glories of the freedom struggle of the past with the aspirations and dreams of a young, new and iconic India. A series of special programs to be launched by AIR Network, including Thakur, speeches of freedom leaders, and Nishant, 75 landmark sites to be showcased. Aprajita, a program on women leaders. Special highlights and discussion programs of unsung heroes and freedom struggle. It will also show the day's importance during the freedom struggle as part of celebration of Amrit Mahotsav themes. To encourage the participation of people, it will also organize national and regional quizzes. DD Network will be broadcasting sectoral programs under Naya Bharat Ka Naya Safar. PIB will launch microsite on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The Directorate of Publications Division will podcast series on books published by Division on India's freedom struggle and the revolutionaries. Division to also launch book on INA trials in 1945. Films Division will organize an online film festival and webinar on topics such as technological advancement in filmmaking. DFF is making efforts non-commercial screenings of films at various embassies. Various activities will also be organized to enthuse citizens' participation in the celebrations. The iconic week under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav will be a grand celebration by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, which will showcase the convergence of the values and glories of the freedom struggle of the past with the aspirations and dreams of a young, new and iconic India. Bureau Report, DD India.
On to our next big story. Former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, former Rajasthan Governor Shaili Singh's last rites will be performed today on the banks of Holy River Ganga at Narora. The BJP veteran passed away at the age of 89 in Lucknow on Saturday. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will be present in Atrauli, where he will pay tributes to late Shaili Singh ji, while Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh will be present during the last rites ceremony at Narora. Late Chief Minister's son and the Member of Parliament from Eta, Rajveer Singh, informed that Chief Ministers of several states and senior BJP leaders will also be present when the last rites be performed.
माननीय अमित शाह जी आ रहे हैं, माननीय राजनाथ सिंह जी आ रहे हैं, दो मुख्यमंत्री आ रहे हैं, दो गवर्नर आ रहे हैं और भी काफी लोग हमारे सीनियर नेता लोग आ रहे हैं.
Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also reached Lucknow to pay tributes. Prime Minister said Kalyan Singh's parents named him Kalyan and he lived up to that name throughout his life. He also called for making maximum efforts by taking his values and resolutions as his legacy.
कल्याण सिंह जी भारत के कोने कोने में एक विश्वास का नाम बन गए थे, एक प्रतिबद्ध निर्णयकर्ता का नाम बन चुके थे और जीवन के अधिकतम समय वे जन कल्याण को लिए हमेशा प्रयत्नरत रहे.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has announced a 3-day state mourning and a holiday on 23rd August, while Uttarakhand government declared a 1-day state mourning on Sunday. BJP veteran Kalyan Singh passed away on Saturday due to sepsis and multi-organ failure at the age of 89. Kalyan Singh lived for welfare of the people throughout his life and made public welfare his mantra, dedicated his life for a brighter future for the state and the nation. Moving on, several states have allowed schools to reopen as cases of coronavirus COVID-19 are dropping across the country. School authorities have been asked to maintain strict adherence to protocol mandated by the government against COVID-19. Now, this includes mandatory wearing of face mask, social distancing. Some states, including Rajasthan and Bihar, have also made it mandatory for all teachers and school staff to be fully vaccinated or at least one dose of the jab. The Tamil Nadu state government has extended COVID-19 curbs till September 9th with additional relaxations. The existing relaxations were scheduled to end by August 23rd, that is today. However, theatres will reopen from today, with theatre owners required to ensure vaccination of the workers, while educational institutions including schools will reopen for classes 9th to 12th students from September 1st with 50% capacity on a rotation basis. And from today, the other institutions are also opening, the only condition being vaccination of staff. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has urged members of public to utilize relaxations in a responsible manner. A total of 1,630 persons tested positive for COVID-19 in Tamil Nadu yesterday, whereas 23 deaths were reported, taking the state's total tally to 34,709. And Goa government has decided to extend COVID-induced curfew in the state till 30th of August. The existing restrictions were scheduled to get over by today. The curfew was first imposed in the month of May this year amid spike in cases and has been extended routinely since then. As per the notification, restrictions on the opening of auditoriums, community halls, as well as ban on operation of river cruises, spa, massage parlors, casinos will continue as earlier. Also, schools are closed for students. However, school examinations and holding competitive exams will be permitted with approval of the government. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav yesterday conducted a detailed inspection of railway services and customer facilities at Balangir station in Odisha. During the last leg of his Jan Ashirvad Yatra, the minister inspected the ladies' waiting hall, station master room, second-class waiting hall on platform 1, kiosk and cleanliness in platforms of Balangir railway station. Ashwini Vaishnav earlier attended a public meeting, following which he said that exuberance of BJP party workers and the warmth and affection from public at Kantabanji is a testimony to the popularity of BJP under leadership of Prime Minister Modi. Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur has highlighted the need for encouraging sports in the hill state of Himachal Pradesh. The minister, who is in the state for his Jan Ashirwad Yatra, urged people to make Himachal Khel Bhumi along with Veer Bhumi. He added that government is making efforts to expand sports facilities here.
लेकिन हिमाचल प्रदेश के लिए देव भूमि, वीर भूमि और अब खेल भूमि हिमाचल प्रदेश को बनाने का प्रयास करेंगे। खेलों की सुविधाएं पहले से बेहतर हों और यहां पर खिलाड़ियों को भी और प्रोत्साहन देने के अवसर मिल सके।
In Odisha, Jagannath Temple in Puri has been reopened for the general devotees from today. The temple was closed for the public since 24th of April in view of the pandemic. With fresh cases of COVID-19 having plateaued at around 1,000 per day, the temple is being reopened for public. All safety security measures have been put in place to ensure safety of visitors with strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols. The temple that was reopened last Monday only for the servitors and citizens of Puri will now be open for all others from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The devotees would have to produce their final COVID-19 vaccination certificate or negative reports of RT-PCR tests conducted within 96 hours of their visit to the entry into the temple premises. The shrine will, however, continue to remain closed on weekends and also on major festive occasions to prevent any infection from spreading. India's glorious fight for freedom is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. Now, AIR News is bringing you a glimpse of the valiant struggle every day. In today's episode, we bring you a story of great freedom fighter Tanguturi Prakasam Pantulu, who is popularly known as Andhra Kesari. Let's take a look at his legacy.
The day of 23rd August is important in the history of freedom movement because on this day in the year 1933, Mahatma Gandhi was released from Yerwada jail as his health deteriorated following a fast. In the beginning of August in 1933, Bapu declared his intention to offer individual satyagraha. The colonial government arrested Bapu in Ahmedabad and sent him to Sabarmati prison. Later, he was shifted to Yerwada jail, where he began a fast on August the 16th because he was not allowed his work for Harijans from inside the jail. However, on August the 20th, he was admitted to a hospital, still a prisoner. By August the 23rd, his condition was serious and he was released unconditionally.
In today's episode, we also bring you the story of a great freedom fighter, Tanguturi Prakasam Pantulu, who is popularly called Andhra Kesari. It was today in 1872 that the famous freedom fighter was born in present-day Prakasam district in Andhra Pradesh. The district was named after him. He is known for his grit and valor against the British. In a famous incident, he stood before the police to shoot at him during the Simon Commission's visit to then Madras in 1928.
मुस्कुरा कर खाई हैं सीनों पे अपने गोलियां, सीनों पे अपने गोलियां, कितने वीरानों से गुजरे हैं तो जन्नत पाई है, खाक में हम अपनी इज्जत को मिला सकते नहीं.
Other than his act of valor before the British police during the Simon Commission, Prakasam is also well known for his active participation in the non-cooperation movement in 1922. he organized a demonstration by 30,000 Congress volunteers in Guntur. In 1942, when the call for Quit India was given by Mahatma Gandhi during the Bombay session of the Congress, demanding an end to the British rule in India, Prakasham was one of the active participants. He was arrested and jailed for more than 3 years.
During the freedom movement, Prakasham also founded the Swarajya magazine and spread nationalistic sentiments across the country. Tanguturi Prakasham graduated from the Madras Law College. After practicing as a lawyer for 14 years, he went to England and completed the barrister's course to qualify as a lawyer in the Madras High Court. He met Gandhiji for the first time on a ship to London. He was fascinated by Gandhiji's idea for the freedom struggle. He served as State Congress President 4 times before the independence. He also served as the Chief Minister of the state of Madras and Andhra. His administrative abilities were reflected in his important decisions in manifold areas of statecraft. The Zamindari Abolition Report, prepared by him for Madras province, became the precursor of the Government of India's efforts to abolish the system in the country. On May the 20th, 1957, the country lost one of its greatest sons and freedom fighters. India is forever indebted to the selfless service of these great men who fought for the independence of the country.
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will launch the National Monetization Pipeline at New Delhi today. The National Monetization Pipeline comprises a 4-year pipeline of the central government's brownfield infrastructure assets. Besides providing visibility to investors, NMP will also serve as a medium-term roadmap for the asset monetization initiative of the government. The Union Budget 2021-22 laid a lot of emphasis on asset monetization as a means to raise innovative and alternative financing for infrastructure and included a number of key announcements. The National Monetization Pipeline book will be released in the presence of Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, CEO Amitabh Kant, and secretaries of relevant line ministries whose assets constitute the monetization pipeline. And we're heading for a short break. There's lots more coming up. Do stay with us.
To Rising India, India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now. With the world's largest COVID vaccination drive, India is leading the way. As the vaccine reaches every corner of the nation, do not forget the mantra, Dawai bhi, Kadai bhi. Let's continue our fight against COVID-19. Vaccination along with social distancing, sanitization and masks.
Mask up, India!
Put your mask on and cover your nose and be safe.
Mask up, India. As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching News on the Hour. Let's now talk about the evacuations taking place from Afghanistan. Government of India continues to bring Indians back home from Afghanistan. Second batch of 146 Indian nationals who were evacuated from Afghanistan to Doha have been repatriated to India. Let's hear some of the reactions of Indians evacuated from war-torn country who arrived in Delhi. Earlier, special repatriation flight by Indian Air Force carrying 168 passengers landed on Sunday morning at the Hindon Air Base near Delhi from Kabul. India has been reportedly allowed to operate 2 flights per day from Kabul to evacuate its nationals stranded in Afghanistan. Permission was granted by American and North Atlantic Treaty Organization forces, which have been controlling operations of the Hamid Karzai International Airport after Afghan capital fell to the Taliban on August 15th.
We were stuck, I and with my family and my son, for 3 days in Kabul. So the situation is very intense in Kabul, and fortunately the Indian army helped us to evacuate from Kabul to Delhi.
बहुत मुश्किलों से इधर तक पहुँचे हैं, मतलब वहाँ बहुत वेट करना पड़ा, बहुत चक्कर काटे, तो बहुत मन्नतें की, तब जाके बहुत यहाँ पे निकल के आए। दहशतगर्दी बहुत ज़्यादा थी, डर ज़्यादा था, कुछ पता नहीं कोई किसको मार दे, कोई पूछने वाला नहीं था, बस हालात बहुत ख़राब थे, डर डर के जी रहे थे वहाँ पे।
तालिबान का हम लोग कभी भी परवाह नहीं कर सकते। तालिबान बोलेगा ना, और उन लोग का माइंड अलग है, उन लोग इज अ वेरी डेंजरस पर्सन, our thinking way very dangerous person. So suddenly they are taking government, so we also scared. Last, I am working 2007 to 2021. So I am never getting any problem about the Taliban's, and because we have the US army guys security in ours. So that's why we not doing anything. So last minute they are taking all over Kabul. So we have any information, any idea. So immediately we escape that place.
These are tales of horror and ordeal coming straight from those who saw it all with their own eyes. Speaks volumes of the chaos and terror unleashed by Taliban as Afghanistan continues to explode.
काबुल से 14 को हम लोगों को काबुल से उठाया गया था, तो उसके बाद दोहा कतर लेके गए, और तब से वो संपर्क करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं इंडियन एम्बेसी से। तो अभी एक सरदार जी आए वहाँ पे, उन्होंने पूरा अरेंज किया सब कुछ कल, तो अभी हम लोगों को इधर भेजा उन्होंने।
Meanwhile, India continues to airlift its citizens from Afghanistan. On Sunday, an Indian Air Force special repatriation flight with 168 people on board, including 107 Indian nationals, landed at Hindon Air Base in Ghaziabad from Kabul. On Sunday also, nearly 100 Indians also returned safely via private airline. Indians repatriated from Afghanistan have expressed gratitude to the government of India. Earlier, the first batch of 135 Indians who were evacuated from Afghanistan's Kabul to Doha over the past days were repatriated to India last night. Indian Embassy in Doha, Qatar provided consular and logistical assistance to ensure safe return.
Military evacuated us through C-17. We just came through Kabul military side airport to Doha US military base. Then Doha to Indian Embassy, Qatar Indian Embassy, they evacuate us, they help a lot for us. No, for the reason, just tension is there, but the Marine was there, US Marine, that's what but still tension was with us.
India is airlifting its nationals through Dushanbe in Tajikistan and Qatar. Indian Air Force has already evacuated around 180 passengers, including India's ambassador to Afghanistan. The External Affairs Ministry has urged all Indian nationals in Afghanistan requiring assistance to contact its Special Afghanistan Cell immediately. It has set up Special Afghanistan Cell to coordinate repatriation and other requests coming in from Afghanistan. Meghna Dev's report for DT India.
Meanwhile, thousands of Afghans, including many who helped the US military in the war, continue to crowd outside of Kabul's airport, risking beatings by Taliban fighters. A video released by Afghan-based news agency shows Afghans still waiting for evacuation at the Kabul airport on Sunday, while gunshots were heard in the distance. It further stated that Taliban fighters are beating thousands desperate to flee outside Kabul airport on Sunday. According to witnesses, no major injuries were reported. Meanwhile, the Taliban said hundreds of fighters are heading to the Panjshir Valley after talks with leaders of the resistance broke down on Sunday. This was informed by the group on its Arabic Twitter account. Panjshir Valley is currently the center of resistance in the war-ravaged Afghanistan. United States on Sunday enlisted several major American airlines in its chaotic evacuation of tens and thousands of Afghans and foreigners from Kabul following its fall to Taliban. Pentagon said Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin had activated rarely used Civil Reserve Air Fleet to aid the onward movement of people arriving at US bases in the Middle East. 18 civilian craft from American Airlines, Atlas, Delta, Omni, Hawaiian and United will aid dozens of military cargo transports involved in evacuation. Rather than going in and out of the capital, the planes will transport people from US bases in Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates to European countries and for many onward to United States. With thousands of troops trying to secure Kabul's airport, Washington has set a deadline to complete one of the largest evacuation missions the Pentagon has ever conducted by August 31st. Up to 15,000 Americans need to be removed from Afghanistan, according to President Joe Biden, who says the administration wants to get at least 50,000 Afghan allies and their family members out of the country. And Biden administration has said that United States has an unwavering commitment to get US citizens and at-risk Afghans safely out of Afghanistan. In a televised address from the White House, US President Joe Biden reiterated that any American who wants to get home will get home despite a rushed US withdrawal. US has evacuated nearly 28,000 people from Afghanistan since August 14th, including around 11,000 people in about 36 hours over the weekend.
Every day we have troops on the ground. These troops and innocent civilians at the airport face the risk of attack from ISIS-K from a distance, even though we're moving back the perimeter significantly. We're working hard and as fast as we can to get people out. That's our mission. That's our goal. And our determination to get every American citizen home and to evacuate our Afghan allies is unwavering.
US President said security situation in Afghanistan was changing rapidly and his administration was under no illusion about the threat from Islamic State militants in Afghanistan known as ISIS-K. He warned that the evacuation of thousands from Kabul is going to be hard and painful.
Let me be clear. The evacuation of thousands of people from Kabul is going to be hard and painful no matter when it started, when we began. It would have been true if we had started a month ago or a month from now. There is no way to evacuate this many people without pain and loss of heartbreaking images you see on television. It's just a fact. My heart aches for those people you see. We are proving that we can move those thousands of people a day out of Kabul. We're bringing our citizens, NATO allies, Afghanis who in fact has helped us in the war effort, but we have a long way to go.
Biden administration has made a number of changes to the evacuation effort, including extended access around the airport and the safe zone. The move is to push back Taliban fighters and lessen the deadly chaos around the airport gates. Meanwhile, White House stated that Afghanistan would be the chief topic of discussion when he and the G7 leaders meet virtually on Tuesday. Australia's government is under mounting pressure to expedite the rescue of Australians and Afghans who worked for the country in its 2-decade-long involvement in the Afghanistan terror war. Australia has evacuated about 1,000 citizens and Afghans from Kabul in the past week, and Australia would be willing to support further rescue flights.
"450 people we've been able to evacuate overnight. That brings to over 1,000 people, together with the United Kingdom, we've been able to evacuate over the course of these operations. And I want to note that that includes not only Australians, but it includes a large number of Afghan locally engaged employees and humanitarian visa holders that we've been able to get out of the country. In addition to that, there are many women and children that we've been able to get out of Afghanistan in what has been some of the most extreme conditions our people have ever operated in, if not worse.
Australian Foreign Minister Marise Payne has said that Australia is willing to assist with evacuations from Afghanistan after August 31st if US decides to delay its withdrawal. US President Joe Biden last week said US troops may stay in Afghanistan past the August 31st deadline to evacuate Americans.
In the last 24 hours, we have evacuated over 450 people from Kabul on those 4 ADF flights, including Australian and New Zealand citizens, UK evacuees, Afghan locally engaged employees and visa holders. And since the 18th of August, that total is over 1,000 people.
US soldiers have set up over 70 military tents at Germany's Ramstein Air Base as they prepare to shelter up to 10,000 evacuees from Afghanistan. The current capacity of Air Base is 5,000 people, but it is meant to serve as a temporary location for up to 10,000. Video released by the US Department of Defense showed US soldiers at the base providing assistance to Afghan families who have to undergo a 3-day quarantine in accordance with anti-COVID-19 measures after a first medical examination. US as well as other countries, including Germany, Britain, Spain, are desperately trying to evacuate thousands of people from Afghanistan as reports of Taliban reprisals against Afghans who worked with Western-led forces increase. German military has already airlifted almost 2,000 people out of Kabul. Turkey, which already hosts more than 4.5 million refugees, began enforcing security measures along its border in recent months, has been raising concerns of a new migrant wave. Security forces watch for any movement on the Iranian side and patrol cars drive around the clock along the border from where migrants, smugglers, Kurdish militants frequently try to cross into Turkey. Use of helicopters, night vision goggles reflect how determined they are to avoid another influx of refugees and migrants. Meanwhile, hundreds of people expressed solidarity with Afghanistan during an Afghan Lives Matter demonstration in Paris on Sunday. They called on Western countries to offer more support to those who are now living under Taliban rule. Demonstrators, including many Afghans, waved Afghan flags and signs reading Afghans welcome and chanted slogans in French and Dari. French President Emmanuel Macron has repeatedly said France was working to evacuate French nationals who are still in the country as well as Afghans who worked with Western organizations. 5 flights organized by the French government have evacuated hundreds of people and another one is scheduled to arrive later. And waiting for a short break, there's more coming up on News on the Hour. Stay with us.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in Middle East countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
You're watching News on the Hour. Let's continue with some more international updates. In Mexico, a family of 6 people who lost their lives to destruction caused by Hurricane Grace held the funeral. Grace wreaked havoc across Veracruz earlier on Sunday, triggering massive destruction and claiming 8 lives. Hurricane that has weakened quickly as it moved into Mexico's mountainous region. And heavy rain, storm surges and dangerous winds from Tropical Storm Henry have left more than 120,000 people without power across the northeast. After touching down in Rhode Island earlier on Sunday afternoon, the storm now is weakening quickly as it moves northwest, but the National Hurricane Center warns that heavy rains and flooding are expected to continue through Monday. Tropical Storm Henry strengthened into a hurricane as it made its way over the Atlantic Ocean on Saturday, although it was downgraded on Sunday morning before reaching New England. It made landfall with maximum sustained winds near westerly Rhode Island. Gusts of up to 112 kilometers per hour were recorded in some of the coastal areas of the state. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has warned that Tropical Storm Henry could impose widespread consequences across several northeastern states that could affect hundreds and thousands of people. The President is assured of providing every possible assistance to people.
I want to begin by expressing my deepest condolences for the sudden and tragic loss of life due to this flash flood. I know we've reached out to the community and we stand ready to offer them support. I've asked the administrator to speak to Governor Lee of Tennessee right away, and we'll offer any assistance they need for this terrible moment.
And 10 scenes were observed in US's Tennessee as catastrophic floods shook the region, claiming at least 21 lives. Around 20 people have gone missing as per Tennessee authorities. Tennessee's Governor Bill Lee called it a record flooding that the region has ever witnessed.
I want to begin by expressing my deepest condolences for the sudden and tragic loss of life due to this flash flood. I know we've reached out to the community and we stand ready to offer them support. I've asked the administrator to speak to Governor Lee of Tennessee right away, and we'll offer any assistance they need for this terrible moment.
Meanwhile, cars were seen rammed into trees while around 4,200 people across the state witnessed power outage. Tennessee Emergency Management Agency said that flooding in affected counties was dangerous and evolving, and it urged residents to stay off the roads, charge their electronic devices, and monitor news. Devastation came after an estimated 8 to 10 inches of rain inundated Dixon, Hickman, Houston, Humphreys counties. Meanwhile, climate change activists climbed the outside of headquarters of the City of London's government on Sunday as they began 2 weeks of protests focusing on capital's financial district. About 200 demonstrators from the group Extinction Rebellion targeted the medieval Guildhall, the home of City of London Corporation that governs the city's historic financial centre. 3 activists climbed the facade of the ornate Guildhall, parts of which dates back to the 15th century. Lit red flares. Scuffles broke out between demonstrators and security personnel at the site. Extinction Rebellion, which caused days of traffic chaos in London 2 years ago, said it is targeting the city's financial district, which they blame for helping to fuel climate change. The group wants an emergency response from governments and a mass move away from polluting industries to avert the worst scenarios of devastation outlined by climate scientists. And in an unexpected announcement, Sweden's Prime Minister Stefan Löfven informed to step down in November after 7 years in power. Prime Minister said he would leave the role as Social Democratic Party leader at the party Congress in November and thereafter also retire as Prime Minister. As per the Constitution of Sweden, a new leader for the Social Democratic Party is to be elected at the party Congress that will be held between 3rd and 7th November, and that person then must be confirmed as Prime Minister by the Parliament. Brazilian rescuers flew to earthquake-struck Haiti amid a scramble to save quake survivors still trapped under rubble. The rescuers were airlifted in a bid to give push to the ongoing rescue operations in Haiti. The earthquake of 7.2 magnitude jolted the country last week, taking lives of over 2,200 people. An estimated 344 people are still missing. In many towns across Haiti's southern rural countryside, teams are still digging for bodies believed to be underneath the rubble. Today is observed as International Day for Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its abolition. The night of 22nd to 23rd August 1791 in Santo Domingo, that is today's Haiti and Dominican Republic, saw the beginning of the uprising that would play a crucial role in abolition of transatlantic slave trade. It is against this background that International Day for Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its abolition is commemorated on 23rd of August each year. This International Day is intended to inscribe the tragedy of slave trade in the memory of all people. Secretary General, United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has tweeted about this observance. He says, the transatlantic slave trade ended more than 200 years ago. Sadly, we continue to live in its shadows of racial injustice. We urgently need to fight racism, dismantle racist structures, and reform racist institutions. Let's now show you some of the glimpses of how the world looked like hundreds of years back. The Al Taiba Heritage Museum in United Arab Emirates hosts within it a nostalgia of past and the history of the ancestors. The museum takes its visitors back to hundreds of years to remember tools of ancestors and their old, simple and beautiful life. Al Taiba Heritage Museum displays all the holdings inherited from ancestors that varied between antiques and pottery in its various forms, some copper, metal utensils, household tools, in addition to agricultural tools and sewing tools that were used in the past and primitive means of transportation. Greek museums and archaeological sites were opened late in Greece yesterday for the public to enjoy August sturgeon moon. Historically, in the Great Lakes and Lake Champlain in North America, Native Americans people fished for a giant fish around this time of the year. A fish is known as the lake sturgeon used to be much more abundant back then. It was so important to the tribe's survival that they named August full moon after it. Let's now track updates on the COVID-19 front from across the world. The data that has come in, COVID-19 has infected over 21 crore 25 lakh people across the world, while the number of recoveries stands above 19 crore 1 lakh globally. The virus has claimed more than 44 lakh 44,000 lives worldwide. The US continues to remain the worst affected by the pandemic, where the number of cases have crossed 3 crore 85 lakh, while over 6 lakh 45,000 fatalities have been registered so far. And this global data on COVID-19 as it stands at present. In Bangladesh, COVID-19 fatalities show declining trend with less than 200 fatalities for the 10th consecutive day. On Sunday, the country's sample positivity rate also continues to dwindle, reaching at 15.16% from 32.22% reported on 24 July. Bangladesh has over 14,61,000 cases of COVID-19 presently, with the total number of fatalities crossing 25,000. The country continues to vaccinate people against COVID-19. It has so far inoculated at least first dose of vaccine to around 16.66 million. And we're heading for a short break. Do stay with us.
With the world's largest COVID vaccination drive, India is leading the way. As the vaccine reaches every corner of the nation, do not forget the mantra, Dawai bhi, Kadai bhi. Let's continue our fight against COVID-19. Vaccination along with social distancing, sanitization and masks.
Mask up, India!
Put your mask on and cover your nose and be safe.
Mask up, India.
Welcome back. You're watching News on the Hour. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has said the country must begin to ease strict COVID-19 restrictions once it reaches higher vaccination rates, as more than half of Australians endure a weeks-long lockdown to contain Delta outbreak. This sentiment was backed by New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian, who said that her state must learn to live with the virus and stressed that the importance of vaccinations is crucial. Western Australia and Queensland states have flagged that they may not stick to a plan reached with the federal government, even if vaccination rates hit 80%, raising concerns due to Sydney breaking new one-day records of infections. Earlier, Scott Morrison defended the country's lockdown strategy, saying that it would stay until at least 70% of the population is fully vaccinated. Daily cases have topped 800 for the last 3 days in New South Wales, with most of the cases detected in Sydney, the state capital. In the last 24 hours, 818 cases were reported, most of them in Sydney, slightly down from record 830 a day earlier.
Once you get to 70% of your country that is eligible for the vaccine, and 80%, the plan sets out that we have to move forward. We cannot hold back. Cases will not be the issue once we get above 70%. Dealing with serious illness, hospitalisation, ICU capabilities, our ability to respond in those circumstances, that will be our goal. And we will live with this virus as we live with other infectious diseases. That's what the national plan is all about, was always about. That's how we designed it, and that's how it needs to be implemented.
We're all going through the roller coaster ride of emotions as case numbers go up and down, and I don't want us to focus so much on the case numbers going up and down. Once we hit 70% double dose, we'll be able to live life more freely, and once we get to 80% double dose, essentially would have normalised the way that we treat COVID.
And back home, let's now take a look at fresh COVID data released by Health and Family Welfare Ministry, 58.25 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far under nationwide vaccination drive. 25,072 new cases have been recorded in the last 24 hours, which is the lowest in about 160 days. With this, the active cases now account for just over 1% of total cases, which is lowest since March of 2020. India's active caseload stands at 3,33,924, which again is lowest in 155 days. Moving on to recoveries from COVID, recovery rate has increased to 97.63%, which is the highest since March 2020. 44,157 recoveries were recorded in the last 24 hours, increasing the total recoveries to 3,16,80,626. Also, weekly positivity rate that currently stands at 1.91% is less than 3% for last 59 days, while daily positivity rate, which currently stands at 1.94%, is less than 3% for last 28 days. Testing capacity has been substantially ramped up with 50.75 crore tests conducted so far. On to some sporting action. Indian long jumper Shaili Singh won silver in the women's long jump with a personal best of 6.59 meters at the World Under-20 Championship on the final day of the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Nairobi, Kenya on Sunday. She missed out on the gold by a centimeter to Sweden's Maja Askag, the junior European champion. Shaili had earlier raised the hopes of a medal for India when she topped the women's long jump qualification on the third day of Under-20 Championship on Friday. Shaili not only topped the qualification but crossed the automatic qualification mark of 6.35 meter in her final and third attempt that measured 6.40 meters. And Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur has congratulated Shaili Singh for winning silver. He said that she might have missed the gold medal with the centimeter, but she certainly has a bright future ahead.
भारत की ही शैली सिंह ने सिल्वर मेडल जीता है, जो एक बहुत खुशखबरी की बात है और उनका पर्सनल बेस्ट है, आज तक की उनकी बेस्ट परफॉर्मेंस है, जहां पर उन्होंने 6.59 मीटर जंप किया है, लॉन्ग जंप किया है फाइनल इवेंट में। और मुझे भली भांति याद है जब मेरे मंत्री बनने के बाद, ओलंपिक्स के मेडल जीतने के बाद अंजू बॉबी जॉर्ज मुझसे मिलने आई थी, तो उन्होंने अपने हस्बैंड के बारे में बताया था कि वो बहुत ट्रेनिंग दे रहे हैं बच्चों को और बच्चों को लेकर जा रहे हैं, तो उनकी ही एक शिष्य ये है। तो उस समय भी इसका नाम लेके कहते थे कि बच्ची बहुत अच्छी है। तो आप कल्पना कीजिए कि जब पुराने खिलाड़ी भी अपनी एकेडमी चला रहे हैं, बच्चों को ट्रेन कर रहे हैं और साई के सेंटर्स के साथ भारत सरकार की मदद लेके सेंटर चला रहे हैं, तो उसका भी एक बहुत बड़ा प्रभाव और उसका एक लाभ हमारे खिलाड़ियों को मिल रहा है और उनके प्रदर्शन में उसको लाभ मिल रहा है।
The Junior Wrestling World Championship in Ufa, Russia, close to an end yesterday. India's junior wrestlers have had a memorable campaign, winning 11 medals, including 4 silver, 7 bronze across men's freestyle and women's wrestling categories. Ravinder won silver medal in 61 kg category, Sanju in 62 kg category, Bhatteri in 65 and Bipasha won in 76 kg category. While Yash won bronze medal in 74 kg, Gaurav in 79, Prithviraj in 92, Deepak in 97, Anirudh in 125, Simran in 50 and Sito in 55 kg category. The Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games will begin from tomorrow. 54 para-athletes from across 9 sports disciplines will be heading to Tokyo to represent the nation. This is India's biggest ever contingent to the Paralympic Games. 11 Indian members will participate in the opening ceremony, 6 officials from the Indian contingent and 5 athletes. Even though there is no cap on the number of athletes, only 7 Indian participants have reached Tokyo so far. Of those 7 athletes, 2 table tennis players, Sonal Patel and Bhavina Patel, have to compete on Wednesday. Flag bearer at the opening ceremony would be Mariyappan Thangavelu. He won a gold at the Rio Paralympics. The other 4 Indian athletes set to take part in the opening ceremony: discus thrower Vinod Kumar, javelin thrower Tekchand, powerlifters Jaideep and Sakina Khatun. In soccer, Manchester United missed out on the chance to make it 2 Premier League wins from 2 matches on Sunday as Southampton held them to a draw. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side went into the game looking to claim all 3 points, but that didn't happen, with the Red Devils unable to emerge victorious from a physical contest at St Mary's. Southampton found themselves under the cosh against United early on, but it was the host who took the lead in the 30th minute. The Che Adams effort hitting Fred and trickling past David De Gea. United appeared rocked from that goal, with the Saints beginning to take control of the contest. Yet Mason Greenwood levelled for the Red Devils, with the result then finishing 1-1. Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea picked up all the 3 points in their first away games of the season thanks to a 2-0 win away to Arsenal in the first half. Ricky James linked up with Romelu Lukaku for the Belgian to net on his second Chelsea debut with 10 minutes to go before half-time. Chelsea doubled their lead. Ricky James thumped one in to give Chelsea a bit of breathing space. In the final 45, Arsenal decided to push forward but were unable to find the net against a strong Chelsea team. Harry Kane made his first appearance of the season for Tottenham in its 1-0 win at Wolverhampton that was secured by Dele Alli's 9th-minute penalty on Sunday. Kane, who has been heavily linked with a move to Manchester City, entered as a substitute in the 71st minute and nearly added a second goal when his close-range shot was saved. Ali earned Tottenham a second straight victory to open the season when he converted a penalty that he won, having been felt by Jose Sa after getting through a through ball just ahead of the Wolves goalkeeper. And the Shaman community in Nepal celebrating the festival of Janai Purnima every year. This year, the festival was celebrated on Sunday. Let's take a look at this report to know about the community and the unique way they celebrate this special festival.
In the middle of woods covered with mist and fog lies a pond dedicated to Lord Shiva, which succeeds Gosai Kunda, one of the holiest sites for Hindus, which lies high in the Himalayas. Shamans beating their drums, Dhyangroh walk up and downhill to the temple on the auspicious occasion of Janai Purnima. The Tagdharis, Brahmins, Kshetris and Vaishyas change their Janai, the sacred thread worn across the chest on this occasion. Similarly, a Doro, another thread, is tied to the wrist on the occasion of Janai Purnima. It is believed that God will protect if Doro is used. Hence, the festival is called Janai Purnima. Shamans considered the day of Janai Purnima as a day to offer a quarter of their yearly earnings to nature and would be returned with more blessings in coming years. Also, it is considered to be one of the auspicious days to start learning shamanism, for which students are selected by established shamans and brought along to the pond where they would be touring. Considered as doctors of medieval and early ages, shamans are believed to possess power to heal and treat patients of various illnesses. With advancement in the field of medicine and hospitality, practice of shamanism has now been confined as continuation of tradition and cultural values. Men and women from ethnic caste groups of Nepal are taking forward this tradition, which dates back to centuries. Bureau Report, DD India.
And with that, we conclude this edition of News on the Hour. Namaskar.
The changing world of news.